Alright, ladies and gentlemen, again, we're getting a lot of ramp up now. We had Comic-Con, and because Comic-Con had lots of reveals in it as well, there's a lot of information coming out around Alien Earth as well as Predator Badlands, and this article in particular is from Den of Geek, and it's all about Noah Hawley discussing the Peter Pan Allegory of the Alien TV series. This is an exclusive to Den of Geek, so it's well worth taking a look at, and that's why we're on their website. So please do hit subscribe if you're new here, turn those bell notifications on, and let's just take a look at this. So, exclusive, showrunner Noah Hawley and star Sydney Chandler guide us through the Xenomorph's arrival in Alien Earth. That caught my attention. I thought, why not? Let's take a look, right? Let's take a look. And it does say the article appears in the new issue of Den of Geek magazine, and you can read it all, blah, blah, blah. So, just as a quick aside. So, the future is soaking wet. Saucy. In the prequel series, Alien Earth's vision of the year 2120, moisture seeps in everywhere you don't want it to be. Damp rot creeps through the walls of a technocrat's otherwise sterile compound, requiring hazmat cleaning crews to clear away the subsequent fungal growth. Climate change has flooded cities across the globe, rendering simple boats the most efficient form of local transportation. And then there's the title creature itself, a glistening, drooling monstrosity that only a mother could love. Now, I think that's interesting, just straight away. So they're going to be pushing the global warming narrative quite heavily in this, by the sounds of it, right? I mean, well, yeah, obviously, like, that is what it is. That's what they're doing. Climate change, global warming. That's the heavy narrative, heavy-handed narrative that they're pushing straight off. Alien is such a distinct aesthetic. Alien Earth creator and showrunner Noah Hawley says of Ridley Scott's hallmark 1979 film, something's always dripping. It's a very wet environment. And I wanted to translate that dynamic here. And how do you do that? Climate change, I guess. It made sense on a deep space vessel that these things would be hot, humid, industrial, and there would be an element of fluid around it. Well, it seemingly made sense anyway. I guess if you actually analyze it, probably doesn't, but it made sense back then. So if anyone knows a thing or two about translation, it's Hawley, the writer, director, producer, and author, first came to pop culture's prominence by adapting the Coen brothers' crime classic Fargo into a successful anthology series featuring 5 offbeat seasons for the cable network FX. He's also responsible for a heady, psychedelic take on the X-Men mythos with the Dan Stevens starring Legion. Delving into the universe of the hallowed Alien franchise, however, represents a whole new xenomorphic beast. So picking up 2 years before the events of Scott's film, although we don't actually... I mean, Noah Hawley's come out and said it's around the time of Aliens, so I don't know what the hell's going on. FX and Hulu's Alien Earth opens with familiar monochrome green text describing the state of play. The human population of a soggy Earth is on the hunt for immortality as 5 megacorporations, Prodigy, Lynch, Dynamic, Threshold, and a certain multinational called Weyland-Yutani compete to achieve artificial sentience and control the future. Left unsaid in that opening crawl, but implicit for anyone who's seen an Alien picture, is that the search for immortality will have to go through an extraterrestrial harbinger of death. And this time, H.R. Giger's xenomorphic creation is coming to Earth's doorstep as a monstrous payload aboard a crashing Weyland-Yutani vessel called USCSS Maginot. So while the Alien franchise timeline is a tangled knot, it's not really, but okay, consisting of 4 mainline films, 2 often ignored crossovers with the Predator franchise, 2 Prometheus prequels. That's wrong. Just two prequels, you mean? The 2024 sidequel, Alien Romulus, and a heaping pile of video games, comic books, novels, and short films. Alien Earth simplifies that continuity down to a more manageable focus on the original film and its James Cameron directed sequel, Aliens. This way, a xenomorph's arrival to Earth is fully unprecedented without any but the black goo in Prometheus qualifications. Now, I will say this, just as an FYI, Alien Romulus director Fede Alvarez did try to talk to Noah Hawley, and Noah Hawley refused. Fede Alvarez wanted all of this to make sense, and it could have made sense. Noah Hawley refused, and I repeat that, he refused. So any issues, it's Noah Hawley's fault. Fetty did his best to try and, sort of align it all. So per Hawley, the logistical questions presented by the franchise's canon aren't integral to Alien Earth's mission. There is surprisingly little mythology in the Alien film universe. That's complete bollocks. You're an idiot. All we really know is that there's this company called Weyland-Yutani, and it has a knack for putting its employees in terrible danger. That's completely wrong. What are you talking about? The more I hear about this, the more annoyed I am. Even though I'm still excited for this series, it annoys me beyond belief. So what's more important is the feeling that a good Alien story instills. To capture that feeling, Alien Earth harkens back to the very beginning. When I heard that they were making an Alien TV show, I was initially very hesitant, Sidney Chandler says. Then I saw that it was Noah Hawley. He took the essence of Fargo and somehow created this entirely unique piece that still honours the essence of the movie. He's done the same thing here. He's created his own characters, his own world, his own obstacles and drama. But it still feels like it is honouring Alien on every page. Yeah, so he's just disregarding it by the sounds of it. So the Maginot is not a perfect recreation of the Nostromo, but it's close. Familiar pallets dotted the grated floors of the vessel's claustrophobic halls. The crew, many of whom smoke like chimneys and sport distinctly late 70s, early 80s hairstyles, wake up from hibernation in identical pods and make their way to a mess hall that looks like it should already be covered in John Hurt's blood. The mainframe room containing the supercomputer Mother 6000 or Mother has the same shape, lights and iconography as its Nostromo cousin. According to Alien Earth production designer Andy Nicholson, the reason for these similarities goes beyond mere homage, and it's a more fundamental law of the universe. Corporations are really cheap. The Yutani design motif for the Nostromo was so strong that any other ship of that period in the Yutani fleet would just take design elements from it. I've been on both an aircraft carrier and a cruiser in the Royal Navy as part of research on previous shows, and the rooms are pretty identical in both, even though the ships are massively different because they know it works, it's practical, it does a job. There's nothing new or shiny about Alien. No white walls or pristine costumes. There's rust and there's grease. I love that environment comes into this show. Sure, fine. So the production team meticulously studied imagery from the original Alien to match the look of the Maginot to the slightly larger Nostromo. Nicholson's prop master was even able to track down from a manufacturer in China retro-style 4:3 aspect ratio CRT TVs made with modern electronics for the ship's displays. After drawing up plans for all of the Maginot sets, the team discovered original blueprints for the Nostromo in the Disney archives. They were delighted to learn their scaled-down version was mostly dead-on, save for a notable trick from the original design that had beguiled them. Just before we finished putting the ceiling on, we found out that they had actually had the ceiling raised up and down, so that if they wanted to change a shot, they had 6 to 8 inches of movement, just enough that you can make a huge difference to what the framing was. It was just a masterclass in how to design amazing sets. How is this stuff lost? Like, genuinely, why is this stuff not passed down to people? It always amazes me just how bad the film industry is, that this stuff's just not passed down. So there were no blueprints, however, for crafting Alien Earth's depiction of life on a sweltering globe in the year 2120. Initially, the production staff started designing concepts and imagery for the series before a filming location was locked down. Once Thailand was selected, Hawley realised setting the earthbound portions of the story in an urban Thai locale known as Prodigy City made the most sense. Funnily enough, filming on the lugubrious Alien Earth happened to coincide with the White Lotus Season 3's time in Southeast Asia, though Hawley didn't get the chance to reunite with his former Fargo star, blah, 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 no one cares. My feelings as a filmmaker are always, let's embrace the reality that we have around us. Andor did amazing things with London and set extensions, but I didn't have that kind of money. I thought that we should embrace Bangkok as much as possible. It's going to be the most efficient and cheapest way to do it. Bangkok is a city that's gone from wooden architecture through the invention of concrete, and it was never colonized. So it's got a very interesting look. There's some wonderful 30s and 40s brutalist architecture in there. Who the fuck thinks 30s and 40s brutalist architecture is lovely? Ugh. At the time when we designed and built the set, it was intended to be a city that could be anywhere. I've seen streets like that in Italy and Spain. I've seen bits of buildings like that in America. Brilliant. I love that the environment comes into the show to bring in the heat and to bring in the sweat. It's both gross and awesome. It's fun going to the makeup chair, and your makeup routine is just dirt, Chandler says. So there's some commentary about the sort of synths and cyborgs. So Babu Sise wants to show his arm. The British actor who plays Maginot's security officer Morrow produces a crumpled envelope and reaches inside, pulling out a salmon-sized rubber appendage. They let me keep it, he says, handling the floppy prop. Gross. I was wearing it for 16 hours a day. We'd lube it up to get my arm in there. It's 3mm smaller than my actual arm, so it grips really tightly, which means I can use it. Morrow and his powerful paw are part of the Alien franchise's long legacy of cybernetic characters. Ever since Ian Holmes' Ash was revealed as a secret robot in the original film, artificial intelligence has been integral to the franchise as its gooey aliens. Yeah, only because some people kept doing it. I wasn't really that interested, though, but alright. Cisse grew up in West Africa, watching VHS copies of Alien films. And as much as excited to embody the franchise's signature synths, as it turns out, though, Morrow is not a synth, but a cyborg. So Morrow's like an iPhone 1 in an iPhone 20 world. I think he wishes he were all machine. Humans have foibles, machines don't. All those weaknesses, he wishes they didn't exist. So yeah, he's a cyborg, so that's interesting. We've seen his arm in one of the trailers as well. He's got like a blade that comes out of it. A Wolverine-esque blade, actually. So putting its prequel status to good use, Alien Earth recontextualizes the emergence of robotic helpers as a technological arms race akin to Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla's competition over electrical currents. So that's just doing that with robots, basically. So while Morrow is the series' resident cyborg, Timothy Oliphant's Kirsch is resident synth, Sidney Chandler is the resident hybrid, which we know anyway. That's fine. And just some little commentary here. It says, Wendy's brain has to be prepubescent because adult minds are too stiff to make the jump to a new form. The human-to-machine transition was pioneered by young prodigy CEO Boy Cavalier and his lush island lair. The name of said lair? Neverland. And so this is the main point of the article. I had this instinct for Peter Pan as a classic metaphor about children growing up. And then when I delved deeper into it and reread the book, I realised, oh, this is a horror story. It's super dark, man. Peter Pan is almost a sociopath. He's a lost boy who doesn't want to grow up. But of course, we need to grow up if we're going to survive on this hot, wet planet. Since there's no precedent for human-to-machine creations in the Alien canon, Chandler and the other performers portraying Prodigy's Lost Boys hybrids had to get creative in preparing for the unique role. This involved working with movement coach Daniel O'Neill and child development coach April Beresford to indulge in some childish activities like painting rocks, having sing-alongs, and trying out other preschool classics. Alright, a bit weird, but okay. A little bit commentary here about the monsters. So the original Alien tagline accurately reports in space no one can hear you scream. On Earth, those shrieks come through just fine. Cool. So operated by stunt performer Cameron Roger Brown inside a suit. Alien Earth's killer is the spitting image of its foremothers. It's a formidable sight stalking the twisted metal of the wrecked Maginot, even for the actors involved. The creature work was extraordinary, Cisse says. Even before we got to the filming, we did this test screen, or screen test, like an actual shoot. I hadn't met Cameron yet, but he was already in the suit, 8 foot tall, that glistening drool falling out of his mouth. I felt anxious in that moment. My human nature just kicked in and said, threat. There's a big set of teeth right in front of you. That's cool. One of the things that made Giga's Xenomorph creatures so horrifying was the fact that it never stayed in one state. First, it is an egg that a facehugger comes out of, and you're like, I'm out. That's the worst thing I've ever seen. Now it lays an egg in you and then hatches out of your chest, killing you. And you're like, now I'm totally out. That's awful. That's the worst thing. Then it grows to a 10 foot tall with 2 mouths. As evolution's perfect organism and an endearing cinematic icon, the Xenomorph's design is all but impossible to improve upon, so Alien Earth doesn't bother to try. In the interest of presenting something novel, though, the show adds several more extraterrestrial critters to the alien mythos. It helps that, unlike the Nostromo, the Maginot's mission to discover, catalogue, and capture alien life is explicit. The dimly lit rooms of the ship are dotted with tanks full of squid-like specimens just waiting to burst out and wreak havoc. Nice. Well, that's it. I don't know how much else to say, really. I think this is an interesting closing, though. I always wanted I always say, if you want to know where a character is on the moral spectrum, look at their relationship to a child in the story. Who is more human than a child, right? They're bad liars. They don't know how to pretend. They're not scared. Which goes back to Aliens, I guess, in some degree. Anyway, there you go. Thoughts down below. Bye-bye now.